Shared power is an OM or other metagame on Pokemon Chat in which your Pokemon's ability is shared with the rest of your team when they switch in, allowing for up to 6 possible abilities, except the ones you immediately think of. They're probably banned or restricted. We'll get into the difference later. So to explain this other metagame, I've tied each letter of the English alphabet to a concept to make them easier to understand and remember. With that out of the way, let's start with that. Annihilape is known for being one of the edgiest Pokemon of all time, but it is more known for its absurd signature move, Rage Fist. Rage Fist starts at 50 power, but every time Annihilape is hit with an attack, Rage Fist's power goes up by 50, maxing out at 350 power, which is roughly enough power to wipe out the entirety of Antarctica off the map, and enough to OHKO most Pokemon. This combined its great bulk, good attack, and decent speed, along with plenty of good moves, led to its great success in early VGC and its ban from the overused tier. But how does it fare in shared power? In shared power, Annihilape function is the primary win condition for many berry spam teams, a playstyle which you'll get into later, with the bulk up and drain binders to survive more hits and substitute to activate Select Berry, while being constantly healed, make it nigh impossible to take out, all while Rage Fist goes stronger every hit. The only way to deal with Annihilape is to hit it with an attack so strong it goes down in one hit, making sure it cannot heal. The best way to do this is with powerful offense abilities such as Adaptability or Hustle. Whereas next up we have Berry Spam. That's right, most of these aren't even Pokemon. We got playstyles and abilities in here too. Berry Spam is a playstyle in which you use several berry-related abilities in combination to effectively make your Pokemon immortal. Abilities such as Harvest, Cheek Pouch, Ripen, and Gluttony to give your Pokemon effectively infinite heals and stat boosts, along with Drought to make Harvest activate every turn, and Sticky Hold to make sure your berries unremoved. This combination allows for powerful sweepers like Annihilape to set up easily and for walls to become nearly immortal. The primary way to beat these teams with extremely powerful attacks, using abilities like Adaptability or Moxie to boost your team's offensive power. Speaking of Adaptability, next up we have Crawdaunt, a powerful physical attacker whose ability greatly boosts your entire team's stat damage. Crawdaunt is primarily used on priority spam teams, lending them its stat boost and power to off quickness. However, there are many other notable adaptabilities, such as Porygon Z, both Vasculation Form and Drugology also being frequently used to boost the offensive power of many teams. Crawdaunt is often useful for teams that don't use physical attacks to diversify their offenses, allowing special attacking teams to deal with special laws. Next on the list is Decidueye. Now you may be wondering, which Decidueye form will we be talking about? Actually, I will be discussing both of them, as they are both viable and do very different things. Alolan Decidueye has the ability Long Reach, which makes all contact moves non-contact moves, which greatly assists the contact-heavy priority spam teams against defensive teams that run Fluffy. On these priority spam teams, it will run Grassy Glide and Shadow Sneak for priority damage, frequently the Sword Dance, as SD allows Decidueye to clean up teams easily. However, this Hisuian Decidueye serves a very different role. Hisuian Decidueye does not have the ability Long Range and instead has Scrappy. This allows you to hit ghost types attacks that they would normally be immune to. This ability is primarily used in Maushold teams because of Maushold's primary drawback is that it cannot hit ghost types. Due to Decidueye's subpar speed and bulk, it is sadly outclassed by Flamingo and Blood Moon Urshifu. However, it still has a small niche, and I think that's pretty neat. You know what isn't outclassed though? Pincurchin, the only current Electric Surge user and whose ability I used for the letter E. While normally not very good, Pincurchin can be paired with a future Paradox Pokemon who all share the ability Quark Drive. This combination can make your entire team faster or stronger, especially if you're using electric types. The primary user of this combination is Ironcrag due to its synergy with many powerful abilities, which I'll get into later. Ignore that last bit though, Ironcrag has been banned. Due to the fact that Electric Surge boosts the power of electric moves, it is often featured on teams with Low and Golem, utilizing Golem's ability Galvanize. Galvanize turns all normal type moves into electric type moves and boosts their power by 1.2 times. This ability is especially powerful because the most normal moves are balanced around being normal. Moves like Feint, Facade, and Fake are limited by their normal type. However, with Galvanize, these moves are learned by many Pokemon that can be utilized very effectively, dealing much more damage than they would have otherwise. Next up, we have Houndstone, more specifically Fluffy. Fluffy is an ability that has the damage of contact moves, with most physical moves making contact. Due to its defensive nature, Houndstone is a great Pokemon for stall teams, although it does not have good recovery, meaning it cannot last very long. It can still help out quite a bit though. With access to Will-O-Wisp and Poltergeist, it can damage/cripple the opposing team quite a bit. Houndstone will also often run Choice Scarf and Trick to outspeed and cripple opposing walls to lock offensive mons into unfavorable moves. Houndstone owns powerful ability and great utility within one of the best Pokemon of the tier. If you are struggling against Houndstone, it is best to use non-contact move as they ignores its ability. Special moves work best if there's only one real ability that can reduce their damage output. However, non-contact physical moves can also work. I am sadly unable to think of any interesting transitions, so we just get right into Rillaboom, our letter G and the only Grassy Surge user in the tier. Rillaboom is primarily featured on priority spam teams, dealing massive damage with Technician Boost to Grassy Lies and providing an increase to its allies' grass damage. Some teams will entirely be based on the Grassy Surge and Grassy Glide combo, with Pokemon such as Hisuian Lilligant and Teal Mask Ogerpon to deal massive grass-type damage. These team styles are made much easier to deal with when you use a Pokemon like Houndstone to reduce their offensive output, or or a Sap Super user like Gouda to completely nullify any grass damage. These teams are also beaten handily by Hisuian and Wo Chien, two cornerstones of defensive teams, both of them resisting grass. Speaking of grass users, next up we have Hisuian Lilligant with the ability Hustle. Also greatly increases your attack by 1.5 times, however it makes your moves much less accurate. Thankfully, this can be easily remedied with accuracy increasing abilities such as Compound Eyes or No Guard. Hisuian Lilligant can easily outspeed and one-shot its enemies with a combination of Victory Dance, Close Combat, a Grass Move, and Triple Axle. Hisuian Lilligant is most definitely the best Pokemon at boosting your team's raw damage output, making it one of the best Pokemon in shared power as it fits on almost any team that primarily uses physical attack. Hisuian Lilligant is most easily beaten by Houndour due to its fluffy ability and Lilligant's lack of effort to deal with it. In the main game, Iron Crown is relatively mediocre due to its subpar typing and move pool. However, in shared power, it shines as one of the most powerful special attackers in the tier, all because of its signature move, Tachyon Cutter. Tachyon Cutter is a 50 base power steel type move that hits twice. Tachyon Cutter is normally just a slightly above average steel type move. However, in shared power, it becomes absurdly powerful due to its unique set of properties. Tachyon Cutter has 50 base power, meaning it can be boosted by Technician, and it is also steel type, meaning it can boost it another 1.5 times by Steely Spirit. However, the last boost that Tachyon Cutter can get is very interesting, being its boost from Sharpness. Certain moves fall under subcategories outside of typing, such as Boom Burst being a sound move, Tailwind being a wind move, and Dark Pulse being a pulse move. The ability Sharpness, most commonly wielded by Hisuian Samurai, boosts Tachyon Cutter by 1.5 times due to its sharp property. With all these boosts combined, Tachyon Cutter becomes an effectively 338 power move, even without any other boosting abilities or stab taken into account. This makes Iron Crown almost impossible to switch in against, and if you think you can just outspeed and KO it, then you are dead wrong, as Iron Crown is often paired with Pincroaching to activate its Quark Drive ability, resulting in it becoming 1.5 times faster and nearly impossible to outspeed. The only way to beat it is with your own speed boosting power, powerful priorities such as Shadow Sneak or Palafen's Jet Punch. Alternatively, you can utilize Sticky Web to beat Iron Crown, and it will reduce its speed before Quark Drive can activate, resulting in the Iron Crown special attack being boosted instead, making it very easy to take out. Once again, Iron Crown is now banned due to dealing way too much damage. Speaking of powerful priority moves, next up we have Jet Punch and its user Palafin. Palafin is known for its powerful signature move Jet Punch, the strongest priority move that is legal in shared power, or which it uses to great effect. Because Jet Punch is 60 power, it barely meets the requirements for a Technician boost. Along with Drizzle, Terra Water, or Adaptability, it can devastate Fearless teams. However, Palafin's primary drawback is that it has to switch out in order to change it to a stronger form. Without this form, however, it is quite weak. So how does Palafin deal with this weakness? Flip Turn. The answer is just Flip Turn. Flip Turn is a 60 power water type variation of the move U-Turn, allowing Palafin to if they switch out and deal 2 damage to the opponent. The easiest way to beat Palafin is with Indeedee. With its Psychic Surge ability, it can easily block Palafin's priority moves and hit back with a devastating expanding force, and it also serves as a great way to deal with Palafin. Wo Chien's water resistance and Tapple's Typhoon ability render Palafin nearly useless against it. Palafin is infamous for being one of the strongest non-legendaries to come out of Gen 9. What about the weaker Gen 9 Pokemon? How do they fare in shared power? Well, to answer your theoretical question, for our letter K, we have Klawf and its ability, Anchor Shell. Anchor Shell is an ability that boosts both offensive stats and speed by one stage when your health drops below 50%. However, this also causes your defense to be reduced. This ability is often paired with weak armor Pokemon such as Ceruledge and Armor to allow their team members to become much faster and stronger after a single hit in order to survive getting hit and utilize the air boost. These teams use the move Endure, guaranteeing that you cannot be one-shot by any opponent's attacks and will end the turn at least 1 health. These teams can be beaten with protection by using status moves on the turns they are most likely to endure. However, this is an unreliable strategy and it is better to use as toxic spikes to beat these teams specifically, as when the opponent drops to 1 HP from your attacks, they will still take poison damage when the turn ends. Another way to beat these teams is with Rillaboom, as you can use its priority to move before the opponent can, rendering their speed boost mute. And you can remove the Psychic Surge that these teams usually use to block priority moves with Rillaboom's Grassy Surge. Levitate is a relatively simple ability. It states that it makes the user immune to ground type moves. Seems pretty underwhelming, doesn't it? What the ability's description doesn't tell you is that it makes the user immune to all non-stealth rock hazards and terrains. In single battles, hazards are nearly everything. Hazards are so powerful that teams will often run entire Pokemon dedicated to setting up and removing them, so an ability that can completely ignore or most of them, is extremely powerful. It also helps that most of the Pokemon that run Levitate are very powerful legendaries, such as Giratina Origin, Latios, and Cresselia. Levitate also works very well on immunity stack teams, which combine defensive abilities like Fluffy and immunity abilities like Flash Fire or Levitate. Heatran especially works well in these teams due to its low number of weaknesses and a high number of resistances. To beat these teams, the best options are powerful moves that don't have immunity abilities, like Dragon, Dark, or Fairy. Maushold is a Pokemon very close to having everything it needs. If it hits slightly harder, it could one-shot most Pokemon. If it could hit ghost types, it would have nearly no switching. If all its best moves were a contact move, it wouldn't get destroyed by Rocky Helmet and Rough Skin, so on and so on. Moving shared power, literally all of these problems can't be fixed. If you want to hit harder, use adaptability or one of the dozens of good offensive abilities in the tier. If you want to hit ghost types, you can do that in like 4 different ways somehow, with Scrappy, Galvanize, Pixelate, etc. It can also avoid contact with a partner in Decidueye's long range. It can even remove its reliance on wide range to make Population Bomb hit 10 times constantly, with no guard or compound eyes. The primary reason it is so hard to deal with Maushold is due to its sheer variety of sets. It could be Galvanize, or Pixelate, or Sharpness, or 1,000 other boosting abilities. While they're easy to spot as the battle starts, it is quite difficult to take them all into account when team building. Even once you've identified its abilities, you also have to take into account its item. Maushold usually runs either Focus Sash or Choice Scarf, both of which have very different ways of being defeated. So how do you beat Maushold? Your best tool against Maushold is information. If the team gives Maushold a ton of power, it is likely Scarf. If the team gives it less power or lacks hazard removal, it is likely Focus Sash. Using this information, you can determine how to beat the opposing Maushold. As I stated earlier, Maushold's unpredictability is one of its greatest strengths. Let's talk about the ability that allows it to be unpredictable. No Guard. No Guard makes it so your moves always hit, which pairs incredibly with Hostile. However, No Guard enables several normally very risky moves such as Focus Blasting and Zap Cannon. While these moves are normally garbage with their extremely low accuracy, they become extremely useful for their immense power and secondary effects. No Guard users can also utilize their abilities to great effect with moves like Lycanroc Stone Edge and Golurk's Dynamo Punch. Though it's also useful as an alternative to No Guard, being Compound Eyes. While Compound Eyes is weaker than No Guard, giving the user only 1.3 times more accuracy. However, in exchange, its primary user is much better, being Galvantula, the best sticky web setter in the tier. Pathra is primarily known for being a frail and deadly speed boost sweeper, but speed boost is banned in Shared Power. So how is it still good, and how is it useful on stall teams? The answer to both of those questions is as Pathra's signature ability, Opportunist. Opportunist copies the opponent's stat boost, which is very useful for stall teams, as setup moves are one of the best ways to deal with them. Having Opportunist on stall heavily punishes the use of setup moves, and greatly punishes the user if they dare to do so. If you still want to use stat boost, your best options are Moxie and its variants, as the boosts are not copied due to the fact that the opposing Pokemon is not present when the Pokemon gains the boost. Now, let's talk about one of the best Pokemon in the tier, Indeedee, or more specifically its ability, Psychic Surge. Psychic Surge prevents the usage of non-priority moves on grounded Pokemon. This ability single-handedly makes failure non-priority teams viable, as it prevents priority moves from destroying these teams. The effect is so powerful that Psychic Surge was suspect tested, however the suspect test ended with it remaining restricted. The best way to beat these teams with large amounts of speed boost are fast twist scarves. If you want an even easier way to beat these teams, you can utilize priority spam piece with Rillaboom's Grassy Surge, allowing you to remove the opposing terrain. Quagsire is infamous for only being good in places it really shouldn't be, such as being able to counter Kyogre and being the only Pokemon capable of stopping pre-nerf Zacian in Generation 8. So how does Quagsire do in the high-power metagame of Sheer Power? As you might have expected, Quagsire is primarily featured on stall due to his defensive type and useful ability, Unaware. However, Quagsire is actually outclassed by Clodsire in this role due to Clodsire's superior attack spread. However, there are certain teams in which Quagsire is more useful than Clodsire due to its better physical bulk and attack. The reason Quagsire is useful on these teams is due to their greatest weakness, setup moves. Setup moves clear through bulky teams due to the lack of ways to quickly remove setup sweepers. Quagsire is already useful for dealing with sweepers, however its usefulness is magnified by the defensive abilities these stall teams lose. These abilities such as Dauntless Shield or Fluffy easily counteract Quagsire's low base stat. If you want to beat Quagsire, your best bet are extremely powerful moves such as Technician boosted Scale Shot. I imagine most of you watching are familiar with the concept of bans. If a Pokemon move or ability is too powerful for a tier, it will be banned, meaning that it cannot be used in said tier or at all. However, Shared Power is very unique to other tiers, which has a unique kind of ban called a restriction. Restrictions are abilities that cannot be shared with the rest of the team, but are still allowed to be used. These abilities are considered far too powerful to be shared, however are not too strong to be used whatsoever. Sheer Force is a very interesting ability because it is designed with a trade-off in mind. Sheer Force increases damage, however, it removes the secondary effect of the move it increased the damage of. However, this isn't really a trade-off because nobody cares about secondary effects. While physical and special moves both often have secondary effects, this ability is primarily used on special attacking teams, as they more often have secondary effects. Sheer Force also excellently pairs with Life Orb, as damage from Life Orb is considered a secondary effect, so you can just get another free 1.3 times boost. Technician needs no introduction. I've already mentioned it 4 times throughout the script. It makes your weak move stronger and can be used on a large variety of teams. However, Technician is yes useful on special attacking teams, as there are like 3 good special moves with 60 or less power. It greatly boosts every legal priority move and multi-hit moves, making Technician a great tool for physical offensive teams. Urshifu Rapid Strike is one of, if not the hardest hitting Pokemon in Shared Power. Similarly to Iron Crown, Urshifu's signature moves boosted by many abilities such as Drizzle, Technician, Sniper, and more, allowing it to easily one-shot with even the bulkiest of resists. So why is it so bad? To put it simply, Wo Chien, and to put it complexly, stall. Urshifu gets completely destroyed by the most common forms of defensive counterplay in the tier, being Fluffy and Tablets Ruin, as well as Water Absorb. This results in it being dead weight against more defensive teams. Iron Valiant is known for being one of the most versatile Pokemon in the overused tier, with its massive, movable, incredible offensive stats and core ability. It can fill nearly any offensive role, but does that success carry over to shared power? Iron Valiant has a decent niche on special attacking due to its high special attack and massive movable. However, I would rather talk about its way funnier niche, which is Pixelate plus Feint Spam. Feint is normally not considered very good due to the fact that it is a 30. Our knowable with its only positive aspects being plus 2 priority and breaking protect. However, Pixelate plus Technician and several other offensive abilities later you have a crime against humanity. Congratulations. However, this strategy isn't very good when it comes to anything that resists Fairy, so it is basically stopped by one reasonably bulky Steel type. It is still hilarious to see your opponent get one shot by a 30 power move though. Wo Chien is infamous for being very bad in regular gameplay due to its weakness-laden typing combined with its defensive stat spread. So, how does it fare in shared power? The answer is yes. In shared power, the combination of various immunity and defensive abilities make it one of the best Pokemon in the tier. To put it into perspective, it is the same tier as Kyogre in the viability rankings, and above, Dragapult, Walking Wake, both Palkios, Giratina Origin, Heatran, Iron Bottle, Manaphy, both Urshifus, Baxcalibur, Dialga, and Dialga Origin, Base Form Giratina, Regidrago, Ongalio, Deoxys Defense, Hisuian Gudra, and of course my Tyranitar, every Ogre point except for the Fire one, which is bad. Gauging Fire, Iron Hands, Iron Moth, Raging Bull, Roaring Moon, Volcanion, Garchomp, Munkidora, Okidogi, Zapdos, Galar, every League Arceus form. Arcoludon, Darkrai, Ho, Dragonite, Glastrier, Iron Juggy, Landorus, Therian, Lugia, and Zapdos. This is due to its defensive stats and access to great moves such as Leech Seed for recovery and Foul Play for damage. Calyrex Ice Rider is known for being one of, if not the best ice types of all time. With its massive bulk and attack along with Terrestrialization to remove its poor defensive typing, it is one of the biggest threats in the Ubers tier. So how does it fare? I'm not even going to finish the question. You already know it's a 680 base stat total, box set legendary with a broken signature move. It was effectively just better box uniform with where Terra is legal and your ability share. Of course, it's literally S tier. It pairs excellently with literally any offensive ability. With the move pool the size of Metacoda and the stab to ammo to match, it can devastate any team with its Trick Room set. Calyrex can also run max speed and usually to outspeed almost all opponents after a boost. However, this set is generally considered worse due to Calyrex not being able to invest Eevee into its defense, and the fact that it gets easily outspeed by faster Pokemon with a Choice Scar. Lycanroc is a very unique Pokemon, as it is actually 3 separate rock types that evolve from the same singular Pokemon, being Rockruff, each having powerful abilities that giving them all very separate roles in shared power. As mentioned earlier, Lycanroc Midnight has the ability Nova, which pairs excellently with hostile and accurate moves, letting them be used without the risk of missing. Lycanroc has the ability Tough Claws, which greatly boosts the power of all contact moves. This pairs excellently with priority spam teams, along with the signature move Accelerock. All 3 Lycanroc actually work excellently as lead Pokemon, with their access to Stealth Rock and Taunt, along with excellent offensive moves such as Close Combat and Stone Edge. Lastly, Lycanroc Midday serves as one of the 2 Sand Rush users in the tier. With its high speed and attack, it can outspeed and take out enemies in sand quite easily. While fast attackers normally struggle against priority, Lycanroc can use Accelerock to move before other priorities. Zamazenta's Dauntless Shield is obviously extremely effective in shared power, making your entire team much more physically bulky is useful for almost every playstyle. Even without Dauntless Shield, Zamazenta is an excellent Pokemon. With access to stab, body press, and iron defense, it can clear slower teams. The stall team Zamazenta was featured on allow for even easier setup, with defensive abilities such as Fluffy or Talos or Ruin. Zamazenta can even pose as an immediate threat, as seen on this player's Electric Terrain team. With Electric Seed and defense boosting Quagsire, it can easily one-shot failure Pokemon. To put it simply, Zamazenta is an excellent bulky offensive Pokemon that can serve a myriad of bulky roles. After all that, what have you learned? Hopefully you have a decent understanding of the shared power metagame and how different team styles work, and if you don't think you do, please give me some feedback in the comments. I'd really appreciate it. And lastly, please peer shared power. Please, it's really cool. Come on, it's right there. Please. So I forgot to say this in the first version of the script, so I'll just write it down here at the end now. Like the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you want to see more. Dislike and comment on what you thought I did wrong if you didn't like it. Thank you for watching, and goodbye. One last thing, just a little idea I didn't come up with until now. Right now you'll see a couple of links to some demonstration games to just basically demonstrate the different team styles and abilities and stuff. If you didn't feel like you got them through this video, it'll probably be more helpful to see them in practice. So the links are there. Go click on them if you want. I don't know. I'm not your boss.